ॐ ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मद् आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परा ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यत् श्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्ना ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधिः वेदस्य मा आनिष्ठः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेन अधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्ददामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारम् अवतु
Is it just my end or is it that Naina's connection is bad?
Minus. I am not able to hear it also.
Okay.
शान्तिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णियाः स्थिरैरङ्गैः
Okay, we'll just do our invocation shlokas, okay? And we'll finish and we'll move on. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गै तुष्टवाग्वं स्वस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिपृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजनीव स्वमृतम् अस्मि द्रविणत्वं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षतः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः All right, welcome everyone to the class. Thank you, Naina, for the seva.
Sorry, I think I lost connection in between.
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
You did. No worries, no worries. Okay, so in the last class, we had covered till Shloka 9. So we'll start with Shloka 10 now. Let's see. Prem, do you want to read with us?
Sure. Shloka 10. The Lord describes the characteristics of the conduct of such persons.
Kamamashritya dushpuram
Kamamashritya dushpuram.
dambhamaanamadhanvitaha.
Damabhamandam damvita.
Dambh,
Damba.
mana,
Manav.
mana,
Mana.
madanvitaha.
Madamvitaha.
Mohagrahitva sat. Grahitva sat.
Mohagrati vasat.
Yeah. Mohad
Mohad.
grahitva
Grahitva.
sat.
Sat.
Grahan
Grahan.
pravartante
Pravantante.
shuchivrataha.
Suchivritaha.
Yes. A little bit of practice you'll get there, and the music will also come in, so it's okay. Good.
The depravity of the demonics, the conduct of such people is prompted by hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance. Intoxicated with power, such people have high ambitions and they embark on ventures much beyond their competence. There is no end to their desires and expectations, but in order to achieve their objectives, there are no compunction in adopting any means, howsoever unfair. Their conduct is such that with each passing day, they sink deeper and deeper in the morasses of depravity.
So in the last class, we had started to see, after looking at what the top qualities of what are the top demonical qualities, right? Six of the main demonical qualities that we had read about. Now we're understanding how a person who exhibits demonical qualities actually behaves, how he thinks, how he walks in this world, how he talks in this world, how he consumes in this world. That's what we are understanding now. And the reason for us to understand this is to be able to see how we behave in this fashion sometimes, and to be able to recognize it and pull ourselves back whenever we find that those demonical properties are beginning to take hold of us. Okay, because it can be pretty sneaky, right? So first thing was for us to know that the first thing that was reminded us was what is the temperament, right? There is in case of a person with divine qualities, and whenever we are exhibiting divine qualities, or when the divine qualities are shining forth through us, we have a preponderance of satoguna, right? And when there is that preponderance of satoguna, you'll realize that it's much easier for us to forgive others, right? Whatever may happen, we don't get flustered, we don't get angry, we don't get upset when things go wrong. We are quick to be able to say sorry ourselves if it's our mistake, and if somebody else's mistake, we are quick to forgive them, right? Things don't fluster us, we don't move out of our center. But this only happens when satogun is in preponderance. And when tamogun or rajogun is in preponderance, when they are in the driver's seat, then demonical qualities come to fore, because they go hand in hand with the rajas and the tamas. So when that happens, then the demonical qualities would basically, the person with the demonical quality, first of all, he doesn't have a sense of purity or impurity, right? There is no demarcation between what is right, what is wrong. There are no moral compunctions. Such people have this whole attitude of eat and make merry, right? That YOLO concept, the FOMO concept. So they don't understand the concept of karma. They don't accept the concept of karma. They think that life starts at your birth, it ends when you die, and there is nothing before that. They don't believe in the continuity of life. So they are fully steeped in body consciousness, and the reason they don't believe in continuity of life is because they are fully steeped in body consciousness, right? So if you're fully steeped in body consciousness, then you are this body and this body alone. And as we know that bodies being part of this nature will have a birth and it will have an end, right? So if your existence is only in this body, then obviously you can understand why YOLO would make sense, because this body will die and will not be born again. That is true, right? Except that we know that we are not this body. Body is just one cloth that we have worn, right? It is just a means for our journey, right? So the people with demonical attitude they only associate themselves with this body and hence follows everything else, right? So the YOLO concept follows only then. And such demonical people exhibiting demonical qualities only lead to doom for themselves and for everybody else around them. Now we're getting further understanding of what the conduct looks like, right? Now that we understand why they do this, what they do, what their temperament is, what that background is. Now, how do they exhibit? What kind of behavior do they exhibit, right? So hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance. Hypocrisy, as we had read, is a case when you say one thing and you do something completely opposite to that. Hypocrisy is something that we exhibit literally on a daily basis with our kids. Literally. We'll tell them, you cannot lie, and then we go and lie left, right, and center, right? The small white lies that we do, and then we justify it. So we'll tell kids to respect others, respect elders, when we ourselves will talk disrespectfully about others behind their backs, right? So these are all when we exhibit a drawing room behavior and a bedroom behavior towards people, right? So you behave in a certain manner when you're in the social setting, but you think and behave and talk differently when you're behind their back, when you're not in a social setting. All of these are examples of hypocrisy that are so steeped in us that we may not even realize that we're being hypocritical. Pride and a sense of conceit comes when you actually have some vibhutis, or you may have some external material objects, like you are born in a certain race, in a certain country, you are born in a certain family, you belong to a certain institution, you work in a certain country, and you associate yourself with that. Or you have a certain vibhuti, maybe you're an amazing singer, an amazing dancer, an amazing painter, you're very intelligent, you're a very good administrator, you're a very good leader, right? You have amazing intellect, you're an amazing quizzer, I don't know, like, any of those things, right? Or like the likes of it. You have a lot of pride and self-conceit for that, without realizing that while you may have worked hard to get some of these things or sharpen some of these things, for example, you got the vibhuti of painting or singing or dancing, but of course you put in a lot of hard work to hone it further, right? That skill set. But the point is that a person who is a jnani would know that these vibhutis have been given to us by Lord. And other aspects like which country you're born in, which family you've been born in, which varna you've been associated with, all of these you've got nothing to do with, right? Physical beauty somebody has been endowed with of any kind, you've got nothing to do with it. You did nothing, right, to deserve, like literally it was just given to you by God, right? So this is nothing for us to be proud about. This is Bhagwanji who has given us the circumstances. He has given us the vibhutis, and he has given us the circumstances and the ability to use those vibhutis, to use those resources, to use those circumstances for what? For our ultimate uddhar, for our ultimate welfare, which is to find God through all of those things, right? To be able to serve the world. All of these vibhutis, all resources, if we follow the true path, that is my own unique path in this world, which is born of the specific VVGPs that I'm born in, then not only will I reach my ultimate welfare, ultimate goal, I will also be able to leave a gift for this world. through my vibhutis, through my resources. It's a byproduct that you will end up creating something beautiful in this world, which everybody else will benefit from. So that's your gift to the world, right? That's a life well led if we live it according to the scriptures. We reach our goal and the rest of the world benefits because of us having walked our journey, the way we were supposed to walk this journey. But the demonical people don't see it that way, right? They feel quite proud of any of the VVGPs that are around them, and they seek full. They feel like they are responsible for it, right? How can you be responsible for which family you were born in? Like maybe you were born in wealth, and yet there would be a lot of conceit for having been born in a certain family, having access to certain types of resources that allowed you to go to a certain type of school, right? Like we see that all the time, right? I'm from IIT IIM, right? There's a lot of pride you will hear from all of us, right? I'm part of the journey. I'm part of that club, right? So you have that pride for belonging to a certain club, right? Without realizing that it's not you. It's not you. You just got given those VVGPs, and the amount of resources that the society has given you that allowed you to be able to get to where you are, right? They don't acknowledge what others have contributed in their successes, right? The successes are all mine, and failures belong to everybody else around me. That's how demonical people behave, right? All successes, everything that goes right is because of me. Everything that goes wrong is because of everybody else around us. We exhibit that behavior all the time. I exhibit that behavior all the time, right? You will see, I mean, you get quick to temper when something goes wrong, and then you'll find some scapegoat to blame, right? It's part of our culture, right? Whenever a scandal breaks out, you find a scapegoat, right? You may not necessarily find the right reasons as to why something went wrong. You'll find a scapegoat and everybody feels happy, like you got one scapegoat to do like blame for everything. That is a very demonical way of behaving in the society. And then there is arrogance. Arrogance is and its sister, right? Its sister behavior, which is the self-conceit. We talked about hypocrisy, and we talked about arrogance. Yeah. So arrogance is self-conceit or pride is when you actually have something to be proud, that you display and feel amazing about. Arrogance is when you don't even have it, right? You don't have what you claim to have. You're just showing it off to others, trying to awe them with what you have, right? $100 in your pocket, and you try and show off like you've got $1 million in your bank account, right? That kind of behavior in every way, right? You feel like you show off like you know way more than you do, right? You pretend to be nice person, whereas inside you're actually having rotten thoughts, right? You may pretend to be a very pious person. You may pretend. So there's a lot of pretense in arrogance, right? One is pretense. Pretense is the base of arrogance. And because and arrogant people are very, very difficult to deal with because they are trying to pretend something that they are not. And so they have this very, very flimsy bubble of self-image that they are trying to, with no basis under it, right? So these people are the first to take offense at anything and everything that threatens their self-image. Okay. So so you need to walk around on your eggshells when you're around arrogant people. Right. And we all know how much when we exhibit that type of arrogance, right? When there is no, when you're arrogant, there is no space for humility. There is no space for you to accept that there's something not right. You can be either arrogant or you can have humility. You can't have both of them together, right? They are literally stark opposites of each other. So they are all related, right? Hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance. The demonical people exhibit that type of behavior in this world. And they have extraordinarily high ambitions, which are all around, which are all hinged around material aspects. So you want power, you want money, and they're intoxicated with it. Intoxicated meaning what? Intoxicated meaning it has gone to your head. It has disillusioned you. You are no longer in control of your senses, right? When you are intoxicated, you are not in control of your senses. You don't know what you're saying. You can't walk straight. You have no control over your limbs. You have no control over your voice. You have no control over what words come out of you, right? It is all being driven by external VVGPs. And it's easy to roil an intoxicated person. It is easy to lead an intoxicated person to do whatever else somebody else wants them to do, right? So people who are intoxicated have no ability to control themselves, can be easily influenced by others. You can be easily manipulated just as well as you can manipulate others. You can be manipulated yourself very easily when you're intoxicated, because you don't have a discerning ability to know what is right, what is wrong, and to discern what is true, what is false. So it's easy to get manipulated yourself, right? You're living in a very made up world in that moment. Okay. Um, and 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 because there is a lot of hypocrisy, there's a lot of arrogance, and you're not standing on firm ground. You have no ability to know what is your reach, right? So such people will eventually embark on an ambition which is way beyond their capacity and resources. It's a natural progression. They don't stop until they reach that ceiling, right? So you achieve one and it fuels further arrogance, further hypocrisy, further pride, and then you'll go to the next, then the next project and the next project until you reach a glass ceiling. You will reach a glass ceiling because you have no sense, right? You're constantly just going up and up. And when that happens, it's going to crash them really, really badly, because it's going to break their self-image. It will show them what their limits are, and it is going to be beyond them to accept those limits, because by then they have blown up a bubble of themselves which is larger than themselves. And then when they come crashing down, it's a very, very hard fall. So that is the way literally every human being with that demonical property, with that level of ambition, will grow towards. Okay, now that what is high for themselves is going to be different for each person depending on their underlying vibhutis and their VVGPs, right? But with a sense of hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance that we all have, eventually we will all reach that stage somewhere and we will come crashing down. And that is the guardrails that Bhagwanji keeps. Eventually you will crash somewhere, and if you don't self-correct, you will get corrected by the external world, by the laws of the nature. And that will cause you to get into a space where at some point of time, humility will have to surface itself. It's a self-correcting mechanism. Okay. Humility will have to come into play. You will have to accept defeat. You will have to, that person will finally kneel down, will accept his limits, but it will be in a very soul-crushing manner rather than doing it. So it's like saying like that. That's what I keep saying, that tap is inevitable in our lives. Either we will do tap ourselves voluntarily, or we will be forced into doing tap. जैसे हम बचपन में कहते हैं ना कि आप बचपन में अगर अच्छे से पढ़ाई कर लो, you use your time well, तो बाद में that tap will not be that harsh, right? But if you waste your young years when you're supposed to be like disciplining yourself, and you're supposed to be spending time on like learning and like spending that time in improving, in acquiring the right sanskars, if you do that, then later on your life is better. But if you don't, and you waste it on, I don't know, playing video games, for example, or spending all your time on TikTok, then what will happen? Then later on there will be stuff that the external world will impose on you, right? So that's the whole point, right? You either you either do the tap to cleanse your demonical properties yourself, or in some fashion, the external world will cause you to get into a space where you will be forced to do the tap, and you will be forced to re-examine your demonical qualities and say, okay, maybe there is something not right about this. So demonical. So, okay, another thing is that there is no compunction, because these people have no sense of right or wrong. There's no sense of purity or impurity, as we had understood, right? So, and when you keep moving from one step to another, to another, to another, at some point of time, there are no moral compunctions left. You may have started off with like a lot of moral compunctions, okay? Then you break the first one. It's a very small transgression. It's okay. It's once in a while. It's only this time. You break that one moral compunction. Once you've broken that, then your mind has accepted breaking that rule. Your mind has accepted that it's okay to have this transgression. After that, it's easier for your mind to ask for the second thing, right? And then your intellect will now start to wrap the like blindfold itself, like Gandhari, right? So your buddhi will then, your intellect will become the Gandhari buddhi, who will then start to say yes to everything that mind says, right? That's why it is easiest, the only, actually not easiest, it's the only way to actually make sure that you do your sadhana or your tap. That sadhana or your tap can be anything, right? It could be a sadhana of I will not eat meat. It could be a sadhana of I don't want to drink. It can be a sadhana of I will not have tea or coffee. It can be a sadhana of I will do my puja. That you don't make those small transgressions. If you don't make the small transgressions, you will not make the big transgressions. If you make the big transgressions, then you will make the small transgressions. Okay. The day you say that it's okay for me to let go of my puja today and today alone because there are 20 other things happening, right? The day you justify it to yourself, you will soon see that there will be 20 days passed by, you would not have done your puja. But if every day you make sure that you don't miss that one time, that no, it is not okay even for this one time, you would keep to your sadhana, right? It is easiest to say no to that first drink. After you've had that first drink, it's very difficult to say no to the second or the third. And after second or third, it's impossible to say no to the 10th. If you've gone to your third, then you will go to 10th eventually, if the party goes that way. Okay. So it's easiest to say no to the first one. It's always easiest to say no to the first transgression. Because after that, there is a slippery slope to hell. And eventually you won't be able to, once you've said yes to this, then, you see once you cross that first line, then you are only going to look at the difference between that first line you crossed and the second one. And it's not too far. Oh, it's a small step. So you'll take that. You will justify. If I could be okay with that, then of course I can be okay with this. No longer realizing how far you've come from the starting line. The starting line is no longer your calculation. Your calculation is the last line. It's the last transgression you did. So that describes every single time. This path describes every single time we said we'll do something, but we couldn't. So if you go back to saying that, okay, I said this, but I did not do this, why? This is the pattern. Always. So we have to catch that first instance. And then question ourselves, why am I even trying to like not do what I said I will do? And then you will see how your mind is playing tricks on you, how it is justifying why it is okay for you to break your word this one time. That will teach you something about yourself. That will teach you how your mind works. You'll go into the inner workings without judging, again, without any judgment. But it will be fascinating to see how your mind works. It'll be fascinating to see the kind of conversations it creates with you. But this is the path, always, every single time, however small or however big the case may be. But ultimately, whatever you do in small world will happen in the big world. Whatever you do in the small thing will happen in the big thing. That is why it is important that every single thing we look at it as if it is like whether you do a small project or whether you do a multi-billion-dollar project. The characteristic of the person doesn't change. Your ability to think through details, your ability to apply your integrity, your ability to do what you say will apply in a similar fashion. If you will break your promise that you made to your kid, tomorrow you will break a promise you will make to the country's president. Not every time, but you'll find a reason. You'll find a way because it's the way of being. It's not a situation. It's you who is being this way. So we reflect ourselves in every small thing and every big thing. We are holograms. Okay. As is within, so is without. As you are in a small thing, so you will be in the big thing. Right? And as we said, right, last time, that that when the demonical qualities take over, and once we have crossed, and when we start making those transgressions, and when we start walking away from the line of what is the right thing to do, then it doesn't matter, because you're in body consciousness, then the only thing that matters is the end goal, right? Because the end goal is the only thing that matters, so you are going to be able to justify any means to get there. It isn't about the path that you walk, it is about the end goal, and that's the only thing that matters. So if you have to win an election, it doesn't matter how you'll win that election, you just have to win that election, right? If you have to get a promotion, it doesn't matter how you get that promotion, right? You just have to get that promotion. कहते हैं ना, साम दाम दंड भेद, है ना? So you will then do whatever it takes, and that's the idea, whatever it takes. When you take whatever it takes out of context, then all kinds of wrong behaviors are justified. Now, Sam Dam Dand Bhed is a niti. It's a niti vakya, right? You have to understand the context on how it is done. And when you don't understand it correctly, that alp knowledge, कहते हैं ना, half knowledge is a dangerous thing. It is that kind of a concept. It's the same concept when somebody doesn't understand Gita. He will say, "Oh, Krishna has always prescribed violence. He has prescribed. He told Arjun to go to the war. He was the instigator of the war." Oh yeah, of course, Samdam Dandabhed. He brought the cloud in front of that sun, right? To make people believe that the day of the war is over and the whole thing got over, and that's how he killed these guys, right? Or when we say, of course, it's okay to drink because, Shivji, hum to Shivji ke bhakt hain. How many times we've heard that, right? So it's okay to smoke, it is okay to do the drugs, it's okay to drink because Shivji. Okay, these are all half knowledge is a very dangerous thing. Right? And it's also a case of Gandhari Buddhi, where Gandhari Buddhi will justify anything and everything. We are super, super, super intelligent people, right? Kyun? Because intelligence reflects Bhagwan Ji. So there is nothing in this world that we will do that we will not justify. And it's vice versa. It's vice versa also true, right? You have to understand this is the power. This is the source of our power. Whatever we believe in truly will always manifest itself. We cannot live where we are not in consonance with our thoughts. Our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our words must be in consonance. If they are not in consonant, it makes us feel extremely uncomfortable within ourselves. We cannot breathe, we cannot eat, we cannot sleep. If things are not in consonance, you're going to be massively agitated, you're going to be massively upset, you're going to be massively annoyed with yourself. You won't be able to live. So what do? If something is going on wrong, then we're going to justify to ourselves. If we behave poorly, if we scream at somebody, if we shout at somebody, if we behave poorly, we are going to justify to ourselves to make peace with ourselves. We have to justify it. We cannot take an action that we can't justify to ourselves. And marketers understand that extremely well. And that is why there is this whole marketing ploy of get somebody to say yes to something small. So a sales guy, when he walks into the door, will always say, "Great day, right?" Everybody says yes. And then you get the person to say yes to 5 very innocuous, happy things. And then when he makes his proposal, it's very difficult for you to say no. These are all marketing ploys that understand how psychology works. The puppy dog clause is exactly this, right? You want somebody to buy a puppy, you're going to tell them, just take it home, take him home for 2 days. Just take him home. You don't like him, just bring him back. This puppy dog clause. You get somebody to say yes to something innocuous, and after that, it's difficult for them to say no to something else. It's the same concept, right? We say yes to something, we have to justify ourselves. So when we feel a certain way, our thoughts must come in consonance with that. And then we create our reality with that. Why is this important? Is because, like we discussed last time, we have to constantly be in touch. We can't always know or monitor our thoughts, but feelings are a lot more grosser in nature. So it's easy for us to capture them. It's easy for us to understand them. It's easy for us to tell us how we are feeling, right? And once we know how we are feeling, we have to go back to our thoughts. We have to make sure that we are always in a divine state of being. Divine state of being is happy. It is blissful. It is calm. If I'm in a space of calm and something goes wrong, Vedant does something crazy, it'll be easy for me to forgive him. It'll be easy for me to, it'll be easy for me to, like I will not get that upset with him, right? When yes, you will. No, I won't. That's when you're doing your homework and things go wrong. And if I'm in a calm state of mind, I will be able to tell you why things are going wrong rather than shouting. Nobody can hear you, thankfully. So 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 we always have to be in consonance, right, with ourselves. Now, why this is important is because this is our key. This is our key to know which qualities are we exhibiting right now, or we are going to exhibit. Feelings are your key. They're the easiest ones for us to grasp and understand. If you're feeling irritated, if you're feeling upset, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling any of the negative qualities, right? First of all, know that Rajas and Tamas are in the driver's seat. Okay. First thing you have to do is to walk back from that. You have to establish Satogun back in. You have to get into a piece of calmness and happiness. That is why, when you're getting angry, one of those things they tell you, count to 10, count to 20, breathe, to like bring in a moment of quiet before you react. And what is that moment of quiet? That moment of quiet is the process of establishing Satogun. In that quietness, in that calmness, in that space of being able to control yourself, Satogun is in the driver's seat. And when Satogun is in driver's seat, then you're able to exhibit divine qualities rather than demonical qualities. Okay, so what is the key here? The key is emotions. Identify your emotions and work with them. Don't deny your emotions. Work with your emotions, work with your feelings, get a hang of them, be constantly aware of them, be very mindful about how you're feeling. Those small feelings of getting ruffled up, those small feelings of the subtler the feelings are, and you're able to catch them before they become too gross and too outwardly expressed, right? I mean, initially you may not be able to, but you start off with like, when you're like visibly angry, and then you slowly start to identify when, very initial stages of getting upset or, getting ruffled up. And then you're able to control that and, immediately like turn it back into a positive state of being. Then you're getting back into the Satoguni bhav. You're again coming back into being able to operate from divine qualities rather than from the demonical properties, demonical qualities, right? So just always go back to like remembering how to employ this in a practical fashion rather than just knowing it at a theoretical level. Okay, and so and why is this important? Last line. If we are not aware of this, if we are not mindful of this behavior of ours, then this conduct is going to sink us deeper and deeper into the morass of depravity. One step leads to another, and then another, and another, and another. If we are not mindful, if we don't walk back after those first two steps, after the very first step, and eventually we become so mindful that even as our step starts to move, we are able to, like, before we put that foot down, we've already become aware and we don't even take that step, right? But that comes from mindfulness. Otherwise, we keep sinking deeper and deeper. Is that slippery slope to hell? Okay. Ritesh, do you want to read with us?
The Lord describes the manner in which such people pass their lives.
Chintama parimeyam cha
Chintama parimeyam cha
pralayantamupashritaha
pralayanta mupashritaha
kamopabhoga parama
kamo kamopabhogaparma
etavadati nishchitaha
etavaditi nishchitaha, beset with innumerable worries which end only with death, convinced that gratification of lust is the prime aim of life, and that this is all. All thoughts center totally on lust. The minds of such people are always agitated with insatiable desires. Right up to the point of death, they are disturbed by thoughts so satisfying those desires anyhow. Notwithstanding this, they hold fast to the thought that life is meant only for securing enjoyments of the flesh and for satisfaction of lust.
So such people essentially have not a single moment of peace in their lives. They don't know what peace looks like. They don't know what real happiness looks like. They only know what is pleasure. Pleasure which is transient, very, very transient. And because that pleasure is transient and your body is hooked onto that pleasure, your mind is hooked onto that pleasure, then you're constantly hankering after it. And it will get over. You get one, now you are worried about, first of all, you're hankering to get it. Once you get it, then you're worried about that it will not last. And so you're worried about how to make sure that it continues as long as it can. And then you're extremely despondent and sad when it goes away, which it eventually will. And then you're again starting the worry and agitation and hankering for the second wave to start. So you're just constantly going in waves and waves and waves and waves, right? Going from pleasure to pain, from exhilaration to despondency. That's all. Those are the sinusoidal wave curves that you're constantly riding. And on top of that, we will justify that this is the only way to live life. If somebody talks to such people who are completely beset with demonical properties and you tell them that there's a concept of bliss and happiness and calmness and there is joy, and people will be like, oh, that sounds so boring and placid. Like, no, I don't want to live that life. That sounds so that sounds like the heartbeat stopped. I've heard of all of these sentences before, right? So like, oh, that sounds like the heartbeat stopped, heartbeat goes sinusoidal. So my life should go sinusoidal. I want to be happy. I'm actually happy when I'm sad also. I like that journey of being up and down, up and down, up and down. And if life does not have up and down, then it's so boring, right? That's because they've really never experienced bliss. They've never experienced what peace feels like, what a peaceful night of sleep feels like. They don't know what that is. So when they've had those moments of, boriyat in their life, they associate that with the concept of being calm because they don't know what is calmness, right? Somebody who has never had an apple will never know what an apple tastes like, no matter what you tell them, right? So such people have not a single moment of peace. You're constantly agitated, right? And that is actually real hell. So hell isn't something that you will go and experience, that somebody will throw you into a well of fire. Okay, the well of fire is right here that we experience in our own minds. All hell and all heaven we experience in this life, in another life, in our own minds. It's our mind that is hell or heaven, nothing else. There's nothing out there in the sky sitting somewhere as we used to always project when we were children, right? Hell is when we are filled with criticism of ourselves and of others as a consequence. When our mind is constantly full of complaints, when we are constantly angry and upset and nothing around us seems to be going right and we are constantly blaming others, constantly beset with worries. How will this happen? How will that happen? I will not be able to do this. I will not be able to do that. Constantly running from one deadline to another, to another, to another, right? And you're constantly like screaming at others to get something done. There's one project after another. You have 20 projects that are coming up and none of them have the resources to get everything done. These are really, this is us creating that hell for ourselves and then not being able to sleep, not being able to eat, and then wearing it as a badge of honor, by the way. We're so busy. We're so important. We're getting so much done, but not getting any time to sleep, not getting any time for self-love, Forget about loving others. You can't love others when you have no time for self-love. We're criticizing ourselves. We're constantly in a space of guilt, constantly in a space of anger, upset with ourselves, and then with the rest of the world around us. This is us experiencing hell on a daily basis. And such people till the end of their lives will be in that space. And Bhagwan Ji has told us, whatever you are thinking in the last moment of your life, right? That is your gati. That is what you will be. That is what your journey would look like after this, after your life, after this life ends, right? And when we read that, the first thought is, hey, that's awesome. So I can do whatever I want. And in that last moment, I'll just go, hey, Ram. And that's it. I've achieved Ram, right? I've achieved moksha. Awesome. Absolutely correct. Except that in that last moment will be the sum total average of everything you've done in your life. There's nothing else to it. That will be that average. So whatever you have done all your life will culminate in that last moment, that last breath that you will take. Which is why you will see somebody like Mahatma Gandhi, who was when violently shot by someone and in extraordinary pain and shock is able to, his last words were only "Hey Ram," and not that of pain, not that of shock, not that of anger. He didn't go, ah, he didn't go, what happened? He did not go like, kisne kiya? He did not swear. He did not go, why me? He did not think about like, oh, what will happen to my kids and my children? Oh, what will happen to my real estate? Oh, what happened to my will? Right? None of those thoughts. His words were, hey Ram, literally what it takes for a person to like, not even, you're not in your bed, like getting ready for death and like, passing off peacefully. You go through a violent death, and as violent and as shocking as he did. And yet you're able to say, hey Ram, in that last moment. That is a person who's definitely got that gati of Ram. But it comes from, it's an average of your life. It's an average of your life. So whatever you have been doing till that moment all your life will be that culmination. So it can't be that you've been living a life full of body consciousness all your life, and then the last moment suddenly you'll be in a Krishna consciousness. Can't be. Right? So a person who has led an agitated, difficult life, you will end up in that last moment just thinking about that. I mean, I'll tell you one experience I had, like I think 10, 12, 13 years ago. 13 years ago, on a flight to Colombo, while coming back, we hit an extraordinarily bad turbulence. And for the first time in my life, I got so scared. I thought, ki ab to, matlab gaya, that's it. This is it. Like, we're definitely going down. And this is the last moment. And like, I'm going to die. Right? और मेरे दिमाग में क्या चीजें आ रही थी, this is 13, 14 years ago, मेरे दिमाग में आ रहा था, अच्छा घर का लोन. Okay, how will अभी मम्मा is a this thing on the loan. I'm thinking about that. मम्मी को कैसे, मम्मी को नहीं पता, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस ये वो, मैं ये सब सोच रही हूँ कि क्या होगा, घर का क्या होगा, मेरी मॉम के ऊपर, my mom will have to pay all of this off, this will all come there, does she know about my health insurance, I have not given her access to this, I have not told her this, I have not made a list of all of this. These are the thoughts in my mind. Right? Not Bhagwan Ji. I'm not thinking about Bhagwan Ji. I'm thinking about all my responsibilities that are not complete towards my family. And that's what most of us would think. If we have led a life that is a normal householder's life and not a karma yogi householder's life. If we've led a life of a sakam householder. And that's what we will achieve again, right? So, so this is, so it's a life that is actually hell. It's a real time hell, that this life is hell, this kind of a life. A person is living life filled with demonical properties. बाहर से आपको बहुत चमक धमक दिखेगी, बहुत चमक धमक दिखेगी. Amazing life, amazing holidays, Instagram life आपको दिखेगी ना सबकी. Instagram life दिखेगी. Where people are happy, amazing family, they have a full life, they have amazing friends, they have amazing body, they have amazing wealth, they have amazing house, they have amazing health. Everything looks beautiful because that's what they're projecting. But in real life, it's a life that is full of worries, full of hell that they are living on a daily basis. And that's all of us, huh? By the way, we all know, I am 100% sure there's nobody here who has crossed 40 and has not had sleepless nights where we are worried about one thing or the other, or something is like woken us up in the middle of the night and we find ourselves filled with some weird unsaid anxiety or fear or whatever. Like at some point of time, I'm sure we all have experienced that. And imagine that on a daily basis. That's living hell. So if we can experience living hell, we can also experience living heaven. And we've all experienced heaven also. We all have experienced heaven also. When we've had like this baby sleep, right? Peaceful sleep, we wake up extremely peaceful, calm, and happy. And then we want to hold on to that feeling, right? So we all have experienced what living hell feels like. We all know what a peaceful, happy, divine life feels like to, what heaven looks like to. We'll move on. Vijay, do you want to read this?
Continuing, continuing, the Lord says,
Asha pasha shatar baddhaha
Asha Pasheshatairbaddaha
kama krodha parayanaha
Kamakrodha Parayanaha
irhante kama bhogartham
Ega Hante Kama Bogartha
anan anyayenartha sanchayan.
Anyayanartha Sanchayam. Bound by hundreds of shackles of hope, indulging in passion and anger, they strive to amass wealth by unlawful means for their sensual enjoyments. Amassing the wealth by unlawful means. The life of such person is one long chain of hopes. As soon as one of the hope is fulfilled, several others arise. Such a mind is never free of unfulfilled desires, and all the time it is victim of frustration and anger. For the fulfillment of endless desires, the recourse is taken amassing the wealth, even by unlawful means. The more wealth is acquired, the more is indulgence in sensual enjoyments.
Long chain of hopes, right? In the Devi Puran, there is this story of there is a story of this demon called क्या नाम है उसका? Dant. No, I don't remember the exact name right now, but basically the story of that demon is that that demon cannot be slayed, because when you kill him, every blood of his body that drops on the earth, it becomes, it creates a new asur, who is the Rakt Bij, correct. Rakt Bij, right? So Rakt becomes the Bij of another asur. That's the name, genesis of the name. So when that drop of blood falls on the earth, it becomes another demon, exactly equal as the original demon, and he is as powerful with all the same powers as the previous one. Okay, so Rakt Bij is nothing but a demon of our desires. That's what he represents. So Rakt Bij is nothing but a demon of our desires. As soon as one desire gets over, it is replaced by 10 other desires. Always, right? So in the first Shatak, we had read this, and it would be very useful for us to remind ourselves again. When there is a desire that we run after, that desire causes a lot of agitation, because there is a lot of effort that we have to do to acquire whatever that is it that we are working towards, right? It is not without a lot of toil, without a lot of effort. So we'll put a lot of effort, lot of resources towards our goal, whatever that goal is. Lot of discipline, lot of tap. So we get that. As soon as we get it, there is this moment of extreme happiness, peace, bliss. And we're like, we love that moment, right? When you've achieved that goal, you've climbed that Everest, you've climbed that peak, you've finished your race, you've completed a project, you bought that car you've been wanting, you bought that purse, You got that experience you wanted, right? Whatever it was that you were after, that you've been working towards, you get that. There's this moment of extreme happiness and peace. And we innocuously think that it is because of that acquisition of that goal. Because we acquired that, whatever that is it that we were looking forward to, it got me this happiness and this satisfaction. And then very soon it is replaced by worries of how to keep this up now. Whatever I've acquired now, I've got a new car now, I have to maintain it. I need money to maintain it. I need maintenance money for it. I have to make sure that I pay the EMIs for it, right? Whatever it is that I'm now worried about how to upkeep it, how to maintain it, how to keep it close to me. And then I'm going to be replaced with sadness and despondency when it goes away. And then I have to restart. For me to now I'm hankering after that peace and happiness, actually, not that car, not that goal. I'm hankering after. So now I've said, okay, I've achieved one, now I have to go for the second one. If I'm a runner, I'm constantly going from one run to another, to another, to another. I did 21, I'll do 42, then I will do Ironman, I will do 100 kilometers, I will do triathlon, I will do super Ironman, whatever, right? I'm constantly increasing my goals. And that's what happens to all of us. We're constantly completing one desire and then go to the second and the third and the fourth. The problem with this is that what we don't understand is that the happiness was not caused because of what we achieved. The happiness was caused because for that moment when that achievement happened, when that desire was completed, finished, it was extinguished, I actually did not have any desire. And because there was no desire, there was the agitation that is caused by the presence of desires was completely calmed down. And as it calmed down, the happiness that is residing within me actually shone forth. Right? So it was not because of the completion of a desire, but actually absence of a desire that made me happy. But I don't understand that. An ignorant person is not able to see that difference. And so he will now create another process of like creating a desire, going after it, completion, calmness in that moment of like, because you've exhausted yourself. You've exhausted yourself back in the completion of that first desire. So for some time, you just want to rest. All your senses are resting and recuperating. And so you're like, okay, right now I have no other desire. And in that moment of no desire is when you actually experience happiness. Right? If you've not worked very hard to get that one desire and you just got it very easily, you will actually not experience that happiness for too long because your senses haven't been exhausted far enough, long enough. They've not been exhausted hard enough for them to take rest. Immediately they acquire one thing and now my senses are going after the second thing and the third thing and the fourth thing. And worse, much worse than that. Once I've acquired something, I will find, because nothing is perfect. The only thing that's perfect is Bhagwanji. So instead of being happy about what I acquired, now I will find faults with what I did not get or faults with what I've already acquired and so get into another level of agitation. Right? So Rakt Bij is a representation of the Asur inside of us. All of us have that Rakt Bij inside of us, which is basically this insatiable desires, this insatiable string of hopes. You go from one to another to another. That is why fulfilling that one more desire is not the way to happiness. The way to happiness is to kill all desires completely. Desires is equal to, what was the equation we used to talk about? What you have divided by what you want. So irrespective of how much you increase your numerator, if your denominator keeps increasing, which it does in case of Rakt Bij, you will never have happiness. The only way to actually, like, you will not have very high level of happiness. You'll have a little bit of happiness depending on what the proportion of your numerator and denominator. The only way to actually have infinite happiness is to make your wants down to zero. What I want, I want this, I want that, I want that. If that goes down to zero, then division by zero, irrespective of what you have. If you're dividing it by zero, your answer is always infinite. That is why happiness, bliss, peace is not something that you will get only if you are a billionaire or a multimillionaire. Even a beggar on the street has access to the same level of happiness and same level of mental peace, because it's all in the mind. It's not in your VVGP. You can be sitting on the road in scorching sun and experience that bliss and happiness and calmness inside of you that a person sitting in a 5-star resort on Maldives. And vice versa, right? You may not experience any happiness while you're there. We've heard of the story about this prince who could not sleep on a who could not sleep on a bed of bed made of softest feathers. A softest feather falls on him, and he's so delicate of composition that he's like, well, I can't sleep. Whereas this boy who has worked hard all day in the field is able to sleep on hard ground, a very sound sleep. Right? We've all heard of that story. So this is all a story of what is going on inside of us, about what we have divided by what we want. If we bring down our wants to zero, we have access and store to a infinite happiness. But if we have a very large, constantly insatiable set of hopes and desires, then there is no scope for happiness, irrespective of how much we get in our lives, because we'll always want more. And how was Rakt Bij killed? Rakt Bij was killed by Kali when she did not allow another drop to reach the ground. Right? She would keep on drinking the blood that was coming out. That means all our desires are being given as sacrifice to Bhagwanji. No further desires, no further material desires. The only desire is to have Bhagwanji, to the desire for my ultimate welfare. That's the only way to stop this insatiable worldly desires. And then, so coming back to this, right? So which basically means that the source of all problems is a purpose. Desire is not a problem. Where the desire is focused is the problem, on material world or on Bhagwanji. And you can use that desire is just a tool to activate us to do something, right? So where you put that tool to use is important. The main difference between Pandavas and Kauravas in the Mahabharata was exactly this, that Pandavas who represented divine qualities, and Kauravas represented the asuri qualities, the demonical qualities, right? And the difference between exhibiting divine qualities and exhibiting demonical properties is just the purpose for which you go to the war. Every single day, what is the purpose for which you're going to the war? The purpose for divine qualities is only Bhagwanji. Doing things for Bhagwanji, doing things for dharma, doing things as your duty. Whereas for Kauravas, the purpose is material things. The purpose is to win a kingdom, right? The war is won or lost at the level of purpose. Everything else is just going through the motions. When you decide your purpose, that's when, and the bhav with which you go towards that purpose, that's where the war has already been won or lost. It does not matter after that what you do. After that, it's all just going through the motions. So you all have heard of this story of, before the war started, Arjun and Duryodhan went to Krishna. So Krishna reached there first. Krishna was sleeping, and Duryodhan was the first to reach him. And when Duryodhan went there, he went and he stood next to Krishna's head. Okay, and Arjun came in later. When he walked in, he saw Duryodhan already standing there. And he went and he sat down next to Krishna's feet. So when Krishna woke up after his sleep, because Arjun was sitting next to his feet, he saw him first. And he said, okay, Arjun, you tell me why you've come here. He said, I've come to ask of you for the war. He said, then he saw Duryodhan. And Duryodhan said, how did you ask him what he wants first? Right? I came here first. So I have the first right to ask. My ask should be the first ask. And then Bhagwanji said, but I saw Arjun first. I did not see you. So he deserves his first chance. right? So because Duryodhan had Asuri qualities, a lot of arrogance, a lot of pride, so that did not allow him to stand or sit near Bhagwanji's feet. He went and sat near his head. Whereas Arjun, with his divine qualities, who was full of humility, was thinking about himself as Sevak of Bhagwanji, so he went and sat near his feet. So that's the first difference. The second difference is the purpose. When Bhagwanji asked Arjun what he wants, and when he asked Duryodhan what he wants, Duryodhan asked for his entire Sena, and Arjun asked for Bhagwanji to come and participate on his side. Bhagwanji told him, on one side it is me, on the other side it is my entire Sena. And Arjun, with divine qualities, said, I want Bhagwanji on my side. Right? And Duryodhan, with his purpose of worldly material things, asked for Krishna's battle. So it's like you going into a shop and one person saying, I want the shop owner, because if I have the shop owner, I have the entire shop. Whereas somebody else going like, no, I want these 20 candies. That's the difference, right? Whether you ask for Bhagwanji or whether you ask for his material things, right? So the war is won or lost on the basis of the purpose, nothing else. I think we'll stop here. With 3 shlokas. I thought we'll complete till 16 today. We did halfway. Okay. Let's do a round of, if you have any questions, or otherwise we'll jump directly into takeaways.
For me, the takeaway is the war is won or lost at the level of purpose itself. So there is a story that goes around. There is somebody called Aravan, I guess. So his head is kept on the top of the hill while the Mahabharata was happening as a recorder of event, what is happening. And on the final day, people go and ask, like Pandava go and ask, like, what has happened. So he explains that it is Krishna in all the places. That's what I have seen, nothing more, nothing less. So that was the thing, right? Like, so how you are seeing things, and it is underneath. It is the purpose of things. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I can go next. So the one thing that that caught me is like that absence of desire makes one happy. So even the desire, we have to focus our desire towards the God instead of material things around the world to keep oneself happy.
Thank you.
I'll go next. So my takeaway is whatever desire, like the one desire is going to achieve, like attain the moksha God. But whatever we day to day, what we do, usually I start doing in the morning. Whatever it happens, it's speed. I'm starting every day and then every day night. I surrender. So whatever happens is no desire, and then it's easy to. I can feel myself. It's easy to handle the things, and then it's not very stressful way. So I start feeling that actually now. So whatever it happens, I don't take it negative or positive or going to my head, but I can start feeling myself, oh, okay, it's for God is giving this thing, and then we are doing for Him. That's it.
Nice.
Start. Thank you.
I can go next. What you mentioned about the first transgressions, which are the most important, like if we cross that first step, then it is easier to justify everything which follows. That was quite important. And it is true in all cases, yeah. Everything from micro to macro, it works on the same in the same way. So, and another thing was that feelings are easier to understand as they grow grosser. So we have to tap into the feelings to figure out our state of mind. So those two are the key takeaways for me from today's class. Thank you.
I can go next. For me, the main takeaway is all the demoniacal properties. So I think any kind of a reactive behavior, it's all demoniacal behavior. And like, while we are doing this kind of showing this kind of a behavior, it's automatically create either the lack or the fear in others. So when we attract the same thing. So that's what I thought when you are saying, because self-correction is very important, because then we ourselves is like, doing from a lack or the fear. That's why we want to show off all these things.
Correct.
And then the more we show off, the more we are attracting the same thing, because we create the others are like, lesser than us, or we create some kind of a fear by showing the like those kind of a behavior. So we have to catch upfront with our feelings, what we're really feeling inside. Then we have to kind of, that steps you are saying is really nice. Like when the feeling comes, we have to bring the satoguni. You take the moment to bring the satoguni bhav, because we are reacting. It is either rajoguni or tamoguni bhav we are doing. So bring that satoguni bhav to take the moment and change that to divine quality, either by giving it to Bhagwanji, that like, just to change that vow to, or bring in a mantra or something, then we can change that to divine peace or calm or some kind of a feeling, so that we act from that.
Correct.
That's
Correct. So actions will differ, right? What I would just call them mood shifters, right? Identify like these 10 different mood shifters for yourself. What are the various mood shifters? And when you are not in a calm state of mind, or whenever you find yourself in an unhappy state, you have to go back to one of those mood shifters, like actually physically do those activities or think those activities, do whatever it takes, right? But get yourself in a space of, when we say satoguni bhav, move it from an intellectual state of being, right? Like aaj tak we have just been talking about intellectually understanding it. We have to move to satoguni bhav, we have to give it to Bhagwanji, we have to like, dedicate it, whatever. Like all of this is still at a very intellectual level. What does it mean practically? How should you feel? How would you know that you've actually given it to Bhagwanji? You've given it to Bhagwanji when you have practically moved into a happy state of being. Okay, now that will not happen immediately right now, given the state of being that we all are at. So the way we should do it is, once we've caught ourselves in that space, we give it over to Bhagwanji and then actually do a physical activity that would be that mood shifter. Okay, that mood shifter physical activity could be whatever, exercise or like taking a walk or like writing or just visualizing something beautiful or listening to music, whatever it takes for us, right? And whatever is appropriate for that occasion, right? And actively get to a space of actually feeling calm inside, actually feeling happy inside. Maybe not with respect to that particular thing. It's not like, oh, I just got agitated with this thing and now I have to be at calm with this thing and I have to find it. No, don't do that. Right now, it is agitating you. You are obviously not able to control yourself in that situation. Remove yourself from that situation. Find some other mood shifter. Get into a space of calm and happiness by connecting to that. And that calmness and happiness is a real feeling. It's a real thing. Feelings are very real to us. When you're actually feeling happy and calm and then get to a state of gratefulness. From that space of feeling happy and calm, you're able to then move to the space of gratefulness. Gratefulness and love are the highest frequency you can ever be on. Right? So then in that moment of gratefulness, start doing gratefulness exercise. It's a very practical thing to do. Go to do gratefulness exercise for things that you can be extremely grateful for. Okay, that you're readily grateful for. And again, like this is that same marketing ploy that I said, right? Puppy dog gloves. Once you're like grateful for all the amazing things that you can be grateful for. I'm amazingly grateful for this amazingly beautiful weather right now. right? It's amazingly happy hawa going on right now, right? Once you get from those obvious things, then you move to tackle the difficult situation where you first do a forgiveness exercise for the people involved, forgiveness exercise for the situation itself. Forgive yourself for being part of that situation, right? Like do that forgiveness exercise for everybody, and then you will start to realize that your feelings towards the situation, that person will start to actually evolve and change. And then you will start to, at some stage, be able to see that situation from a very satoguni space. And then you will find the right way of being in that situation, right way to act in that situation. Right? So practically that's how you should do it. You should actually feel it. If you're not feeling it and you're just doing it mentally and intellectually, under se agitation jayega nahi. You've just suppressed it for some time by saying, I will not feel it. I will not feel it. The moment that thing comes back, no, you will find yourself reacting in exactly the same way as before. You've not transformed anything there. You've just suppressed it. And it's waiting for that lid to go off. So you have to actively transform it, change it, and make sure that you can now be in the same situation, but with Satoguni Bhav. So you can behave differently.
Thank you.
I'll go next. Today's takeaway for me was feeling about understanding that more desires and more wants leads to more frustrations, and actually, trying to break away from that and, try to attain less desires, less wants, so that you can actually find more blissful peace and happiness.
Thank you. Which is so opposite from what this world asks us to do, right? Play hard, party hard, work hard. That's how life should be led. And if you're not leading that kind of a life, you're such a loser in life, right? It's a very opposite way of being when you're walking the Gita path, which says that actually, probably doing less is more. Less is more. That's the Gita path.
There've already been a lot of takeaways, but one which I connected with was about how our vibhutis are all God gifted. And I just want to remember and pray that I can use this, whatever God gifted vibhutis I have, to make this world a better place. And to that, there was this saying, there's a Greek proverb which says that a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. So from that, it's similar to this, that in the sense that, not doing it with the purpose, just doing the act and not being connected to the results and seeking the results. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll end the satsang today. And I think now that I see we still have 8 minutes left, so we could have done one more. 13 and 14 could have been done, but next time. And I'll see you all next week. I think Abhinav will be able to join me in the next class.
Closing shlokas.
Yes, closing shlokas. Nena, do you think you have stable enough connection now?
Think so. I hope so. Yeah. ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ Om.
Thank you, Nana. And stop the recording.